So today we're going to talk about multi-track editing with Adobe Audition. And the first question might be, well, what's the difference between multi-track editing and waveform editing? You see these two buttons up here in the upper left-hand corner of the interface of Audition. So you might be asking yourself, well, what's the difference? Well, okay, waveform is usually typically when you're going to be working with just a single audio file. You're just going to be making some simple edits, and as you saw in the last tutorial we did on basic editing in Adobe Audition, we were working with just waveform editing. We were working with a single track file, going in, making some snips on that, and adjusting some levels, and then exporting it back out again. But today we're going to be talking about multi-track editing, and where multi-track editing comes in handy is when you want to start combining different audio tracks together to make a big composite piece. So this may be multiple microphone recordings from a session where you had 2 or 3 microphones hooked up and you were doing a podcast with 3 or 4 people sitting around a table, and you have each one of their microphones isolated discreetly. Each one has its own separate little WAV file, and you want to combine them all together and bring them into one big composite file. Maybe add some music to it, maybe some special effects. That's where you would start to get into multi-track sessions. So let's just take a look at our files to get a good sense of this. I'm going to go ahead and import in the 2 audio files. It was a session recorded between my colleagues Brian and Tess where they were talking together, and each microphone was separate, recorded separately as its own audio file. So let's bring those in. I'm going to go ahead up here in the file area and double click to find that audio. And I'm going to go back out to my desktop here because I know where those are at. There they are. And here are my 2 microphones. Bring those guys in. So each one, when you're looking at each individual audio file, you're looking at it in the waveform viewer right here. So if I double click on microphone 1 and play it through, let's move a little forward here.
When I was really
so this is Brian
like
talking.
10, 11.
Okay. The other one is probably Tess talking.
They're getting a lot of that. But anyways, yeah. So which is great because it was found footage. Yeah. So, you know,
there you go. So there's Brian and Tess talking, isolated on their own individual WAV files. So I'm going to bring those together into one multi-track project so that I can do some editing on each audio file and then maybe bring in some music and combine it together. So I've got some templates for multi-track settings. I'm going to go ahead and open one of those guys. And I have those stored on my desktop here. There it is, a podcast template for 2 microphones. I'm going to select that one and open it up. First thing I'm going to do is do a save as with this is open so that I'm not overwriting my template. So I will call this Brian and Tess podcast. There we go. And I'll store it back on my desktop. Why not? There we go. Simple as that. So in this template, we have space already for microphone 1, microphone 2. If we've got some stereo music, we're going to bring that in here. Maybe some sound effects. I don't know what sound effects we may need for a discussion between Tess and Brian. We'll see. Could be fun. So I'm going to take each one of their microphones. Here's my first mic, and I'm just going to simply drag it here and place it into the first track here, microphone 1. And I'm going to do the same with microphone 2. And so I can listen to this by moving the playhead up here and listening to it.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic is discussing how we both got into the creative fields that we're in, what motivates us, what keeps us inspired, and how maybe...
Okay. And then here's Brian talking as well.
I work as support for Adobe Creative Cloud.
So there were some questions and answers going on. So those are our 2 audio tracks. So let's find the place where they start right in here. Move my playhead. I think they started right here.
Hi, everybody, and welcome.
Before that was just them setting up the microphones and getting set and whatnot.
Think we're recording.
And to play, I'm hitting the space bar. As you may have learned in the last tutorial, I'm hitting the space bar to play, to pause and start playback. So I think they started right about here. So I want to delete the stuff that came before this. I want to delete that little introductory stuff where they were getting things set up. So I could use my Razorblade tool here. Keyboard shortcut is R. I could grab that guy, and actually I have the ability to Razorblade multiple clips at one time. If I chose the single Razorblade, I'm only going to be cutting one clip, but I actually want to make a cut straight down this point and cut both tracks at the same time. So I'm going to do Command Z to undo what I just did. And instead, I'm going to select the Razor All Clips tool. And I'm going to go right in there, and I'm going to click, and you can see it cut both of them. I can return to my Move tool, select both those clips like that. And then here's an interesting trick. If I hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and hit the Delete button, what it does is it deletes the stuff on both clips and then ripples it back so they both start at the top of the multitrack here.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic...
Now, I hear a little bit of rumble in there. So rather than get all the way through my editing and then decide to do some effects on these clips, right off the bat, I know I want to try and reduce a little bit of that room noise that was going on that makes it sound a little bit muffled, and there's some movement going on in there. So if I wanted to add an effect to this entire clip so that each time I make an edit on it, it has that same effect on it, I want to actually kind of reduce some of the noise that's going on in the room. I'm going to switch my workspace by going up to the Window menu, coming down here to Workspace, and coming over to the default workspace. What this gives me in the default workspace is this panel over here called Essential Sound. And this is really handy, a quick and easy way to do some audio cleanup. So I'm going to select Tessa's clip here, and it asks me over here in the Essential Sound panel, what is this clip? And it's dialogue. So I'm going to select dialogue. This brings up a whole menu of things we can do to this clip. And in these menus, you'll see one called Repair, and right under that is Reduce Noise. If you don't see it right away, it might be just because it's closed. You can actually click on the name to have these things scroll out. So I'm going to select Reduce Noise. By default, it wants to come in at 5. It goes from 0 to 10, and that's about halfway up. I'm going to listen to this clip and see what I want to do. Now I want to isolate this one just so I'm listening to Tessa's microphone. So right over here on the microphone 2 channel here on this track, I'm going to solo it out by hitting the little S right there. And now I'm just listening to Tess.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian.
That sounds pretty good. You can actually toggle it on and off to see what it sounds like with and without the noise reduction applied to it. So let's do that.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2.
I'm going to toggle it off, and we'll listen to that again so you can hear the noise again.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with...
So I think it helps a lot. Actually, you can even toggle it on and off while it's playing to hear the difference.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2.
I'm going to toggle it on.
And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic is discussing how we both got into the...
Now, it's default to 5, may be a little too much. You can actually bring that down a little bit. I kind of like to just keep it low, just to reduce just a little bit of that room noise. Otherwise, it makes their voices sound a little tinny.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2.
I'm going to crank this all the way up so you can hear what I mean when I say it sounds a little tinny if it's all the way at its extreme.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente.
I don't know if you can hear that, but I think it sounds a little extreme. So I'm going to bring that all the way back down to about 1. And I think that'll give me just what I want.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2.
And I'm going to do the same to Brian's mic. So I'm going to unsolo Tessa's mic. I'm going to go back up here to Brian on the top track here. And I'm going to solo him.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm going to click to select it. I'm going to tell it that's dialogue. And I'm going to reduce that noise by just 1 on the meter here. So let's listen to that.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe...
Oh, maybe it might be better if I kind of get up to where Brian's speaking so you can hear what it sounds like.
So you get to experiment with a lot of different applications and Honestly, like show other people how to
That's
how to
without.
harness them for coursework or for just the stuff they want to
That's
do.
with.
As far
I think it gives a little bit. It reduces some of that background noise a little bit. You can play with those settings yourself and see what you like best. So now I've got that applied to both tracks. I'm going to unsolo out Brian's track. And so now let's actually talk about how we would go about editing this. Because right now they're both they're talking. They're each on separate microphones, but sometimes you can hear them bleeding over into each other's mics. So it might be nice to kind of, when Tess is speaking, not have Brian's mic hot, not have it open. So we can actually kind of do some editing, kind of ducking them in and out of each other so that when Tess is speaking, Brian's level is down. When he is speaking, Tess's level is down. So we can do that right off the bat. I'm going to zoom up on the beginning of this session by hitting the plus button on my keyboard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be...
And you can use the waveform to kind of tell Brian starts speaking right here. So this is probably...
So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
So we can kind of have Brian kind of come in and out and do the same with Tessa's mic. We can do one of two things, actually. One is I could take the Razorblade and I could cut where Brian starts to speak, and then I could remove the part where he's not speaking by selecting it and hitting delete.
And how maybe you can take some tips away from that. So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question I just want to ask is, tell me a... Brian, welcome.
So we have Brian speaking right there. And then we could actually use the Razorblade again, hitting the R key on our keyboard, snip him out again.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question I just want to ask is, tell me a little bit about your background in working with creative projects. What do you like to do? What inspires you? And then we'll get into a little bit of how you came there in a little bit.
Yeah, so
there's Brian right there speaking, so I can use the Razorblade, snip him out again there. And then I'm going to remove this part in between by going back to my default selection tool right here, the move tool, by hitting V on my keyboard, selecting that clip and deleting it.
Brian, welcome.
hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
That sounds pretty good. So we have Brian coming in at that point. We could do the same for Tess.
For having me.
So Brian, welcome.
We can actually find the place where she finishes speaking.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Right there, and do the same thing. Remove that little section.
So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question I just want to ask is, tell me a little bit about your background in work.
I'm hitting the minus button on my keyboard to kind of zoom back out again. Okay, so we've taken out the parts where Brian wasn't speaking here, where Tess was speaking, to kind of isolate them a little bit more. And we could continue doing this through the whole thing. As Tess asks questions, then we would get to the end of her question, cut, and eliminate the part where she's listening and Brian was answering, and vice versa, where Brian was asking a question of Tess, then we could do that same thing. And we could just keep going through this whole thing like that. If you notice on each one of these clips, when you click on it, you'll see these little buttons right here. And this actually allows you to do little fade ups in and out if you find that maybe you're getting a little bit of a change in ambience between the two microphones. You could kind of use these buttons to kind of quickly and easily add little audio fade ups and fades down.
So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question I just want to ask.
Maybe not necessary for all your projects, but keep in mind that whenever you make a snip to a clip, you'll notice that little button is going to be there, so you can kind of fade up and fade out.
You came there in a little bit.
Yeah, so
I'm going to zoom up on that little section, maybe add a little thing there. And this is Brian.
There in a little bit.
So this is Brian answering, so I'm going to go ahead and make an edit right there on Tess's audio track while Brian answers, and I can kind of see, according to the waveform, where he's kind of answering through that.
work or
And he speaks for a while there, and then we hear Tess right there.
make those.
Who would have thought?
So that turned into.
So I can kind of isolate Tess when she responds to something he says by making cuts around her And then I can remove this little section. And again, I can have a little fade up and a little fade out where she responds to him saying something. So this is one way you could do this. One way of going through and making little surgical edits so that you just have one microphone open at one time. There is another way to do this though, and that's kind of by using the pen tool and making actual dropping little nodes on these things. So let's take a look at that as we move further into this file.
Yeah, I think that's the bulk of it.
For people who are listening and hear the term motion graphics or graphic animation, I think almost everyone's going to go to like Pixar Animation Studios.
Yeah.
Do you think you could give us a...
So Brian has a couple of responses to Tess as she's talking. So I could use the Razorblade tool and snip those little areas out. Or if I use just the default selection tool, you'll see that when I push it over the volume line right here, I could raise or lower the entire overall volume of that one clip. Let me undo that. Or while I'm hovering over the volume here, if I double click, I can place an actual node on the line. And I'm going to place two nodes because I need to have a starting point and an ending point for this volume change. And then I want it to come back up where he says
graphics or...
He's going to say right there. And so I'm going to drop two more nodes right there. And then in between those, if I hold down the command key on my keyboard, I can actually lower the volume for that little section right there.
Yeah, I think that's the bulk of it.
For people who are listening and hear the term motion graphics or graphic animation.
And I can do the same on the other side if I wanted to. I could drop two, and then he's going to speak again right here. So I'll put two more. Hold down the command key on my keyboard. And you can even make adjustments to these nodes after the fact by just clicking and holding on them.
Yeah, I think that's the bulk of it.
For people who are listening and hear the term motion graphics or graphic animation, I think almost everyone's going to go to like Pixar Animation Studios.
Yeah.
Do you think you
I can do the same here.
could give us a little bit of maybe a definition and background on what you mean when you say motion graphics and what kind of brief explanation of what works? I know there's a whole lot of work that goes into it. But
It's a big thing, but...
So we can do the same when he starts to speak here. Again, holding the command key, I can raise that, I can bring that down. And even when Tess stopped speaking, if I wanted to, I could do that same thing on her audio clip. I could find the next place where she speaks.
Motion graphics revolves more around...
She's not speaking there. Where is she speaking next? Oh, she starts to speak way over here.
yeah.
So I could find the next point when she speaks, drop two more nodes, and bring her down. Now, why am I doing this? You may wonder, why would I do this? This is kind of ducking the audio in and out. But again, it just kind of gives a little bit better clarity to the person who's actually speaking, so you don't hear the fact that that person was kind of being picked up on the other person's microphone.
Bulk of it.
For people who are listening and hear the term motion graphics or graphic animation,
we call that ducking. We're just ducking the audio up and down.
I think almost everyone's going to go to like...
So whichever method you want to use, if you want to use the Razorblade and actually snip the other person out like we've done here, you can do that. Works perfectly well. Doesn't give you the option, well, I mean, it does kind of give you the option of fading them in and out because you do have a little bit of control over these nodes when you're in here. Whichever method you want to use, they both work and they both work fine. But you go through this whole clip and you might do that, and eventually you would have your whole thing looking either cut up like the first part does, or with all of these nodes scattered throughout as you kind of duck the other person's audio up and down. But you'd go through the whole thing until you were satisfied and done. But the real beauty of doing it in multi-track is now that we have our dialogue all cut together, now we can actually go in and add some music behind these folks to add a little extra element to what they're talking about. So I'm going to go back over here to the file window because I actually have some music, and I'm going to navigate back here on my desktop to where I have that music saved. And I have this music clip right here. Bring that up. Now I can double click that, and this takes it into waveform view, and I can listen to it. I'm going to double click up here, find the piece of music I want. I think it's this one right here. And I can listen to it. A little loud, but we'll bring the volume down when we get it in the other project. I think that might be kind of complementary to what they're talking about. So I'm going to switch back to them. And I'm going to bring this into my track here for music. Doesn't match the sample size. That's okay. I'm going to tell it to just convert the sample size over. You may run into that where you've got music that's recorded at a sample rate of 48 and your project might be set to 44.1. It's okay. Audition can handle it. It'll convert it for you. So let's listen to this.
Hi, everybody, and welcome.
Well, we could hear it if I unmuted that channel. I had muted it before.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back.
It's loud, so I'm going to bring the overall volume of this clip down. And right here in the lower left-hand corner of the clip, you'll see this kind of 3 lines leading up. If I click and hold on that, I can actually bring the volume of this down. I'm going to bring it down to about -19. Is usually a good starting point.
I believe will be episode 2, and today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking.
Let's see how that sounds.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back.
Maybe still a little loud. Bring it down even further. Maybe down to all the way at -30. There we go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic is discussing how we both got into the creative fields that we're in, what motivate us, what keeps us inspired, and how maybe you can take some tips away from that. So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question.
So I might want to have the music just start and then kind of fade out. So I'm going to use my Razorblade tool, and I'm just going to cut it in here and remove the rest of the clip. And then I can use that little fade out box, and I can have this thing do a nice slow fade out over time.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic is discussing how we both got into the creative fields that we're in, what motivate us, what keeps us inspired, and how maybe you can take some tips away from that. So Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So the first question I just want to ask is, tell me.
That doesn't sound too bad. Music starts off and kind of fades out over time. It's good. So let's leave that like that. So what we've done here is we have brought in our 2 audio tracks of the 2 speakers. They were both recorded separately. We combined them into a multi-track project. And then we actually added in some music on a 3rd track. And if we wanted to add some sound effects, or if we had need for sound effects or any other audio elements, we could combine them down here as well. So this kind of, in a nutshell, would be our project. I'm not going to go ahead and make all the edits to the dialogue for time's sakes. So let's just pretend for the moment that we had everything together. We'd gone through and edited all our dialogue together. We'd added some music to it. Now we want to export this out. We want to export this out as a single audio file that can be put up for podcast purposes. So the way I would do that is I'm going to go to File and Export, and I'm going to do a multi-track mixdown of my entire session. That's going to combine all these tracks together and give me one file output from this. And I can actually choose a place I'm going to save it. I'm going to put it on the desktop again. I could adjust the name if I wanted to. I could even change, what it's going to be if I wanted to. If I didn't want to wave, if I wanted to rather have it be an MP3, I could do that here as well. You have a bunch of different selections that you can go out to. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as a WAV file for right now. And I'm going to hit OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to go through and combine all my audio tracks together using all of my audio levels I've done throughout the whole project and save it as one complete file. Now, if you have a short file, it's going to take less time. This actually, I think they spoke for about 20 minutes. So it's going to give us a file that's about 20 minutes in length. There it is, it's done. And if I hide Audition for a moment, and I actually go out and find that project, that audio file, here it is. Here's my audio mix down of them. I can listen to it.
Hi everybody and welcome back. This, I believe, will be episode 2. And today we're here with Brian Puente, who we're going to be talking to. And today's topic is discussing how we both got into the creative fields that we're in, what motivate us, what keeps us inspired, and how maybe you can take some tips away from that.
So there you go. So always make sure to go back and audition and save your work up to that point in case you need to come back into this and make some more adjustments. So there you have it. Multi-track editing with Adobe Audition.